met you, it was just for fun. Now I feel like you're the only one. Now I'm feeling like we just begun, just begun. Now I feel like you're the only one, only one. We got too much time to hold back, hold back, hold back. And we got too much time to hold back, hold back, hold back. I've been waiting on you just to take me over, baby, take me over the edge. I've been waiting on you just to
Oh, that's right. Like Twitch is down or something right now.
Oh, really?
That's what I heard earlier.
I was just on.
Yeah, maybe it's. We can check Twitch because they could have gone back up. Oh no, I guess it's back up. Maybe not. I don't know. Well, in any case, we'll be here. Hey, Justin.
Hey, what's up, man?
Oh, you know, getting ready to do the Weird Things show. You know, the weird thing. There we go. I'm trying to dial in my monitors. I don't know, something is this mixer's acting up today. You know, it's channels maybe gone bad. And then, oh, Brian went to go turn the AC on. But we're going to do a good show. I got a bunch of stuff straight from Andrew, plus some other stuff. And, oh, there we go.
Yeah, Andrew-less show today because he is on his way to Florida for the big SpaceX.
That's right. And it sounds like Brian, maybe that's what he's doing, is negotiating with the warden to see if he can go. That's not a great characterization of Bonnie, but...
No. That's... By the way, in a conversation that started with, I'm feeling bad about how I can't go. And it's like, oh, great reminder. Can I go? Awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The last, 10 minutes before we started the stream, Brian was on Southwest looking at a ticket.
We're just starting, I feel really, really bad. Yeah. Ooh.
Oh, I should go do that. That's right.
I should do that.
I should do... Oh, you know?
Cool story. Oh,
yeah.
That reminds me. Yeah. No, we're it's gonna be a fun time. Actually, here, if you can hold the con for 5 seconds, let me get a fresh water, and then
Sure.
we'll be.
We can do that. Welcome to the Before Things, everybody. Whew, last night was busy. I was on the DKG Welt podcast, and then the Cloverfield movie dropped, and so I watched that, and then I also was trying to cram some Altered Carbon before, and then I got to watch Counterpart after this, so that we got plenty of stuff to talk about for spoilering time coming up later today, cordkillers.com. But yeah. Hey, what's the word?
Hello, sir. That's always a fun game, running on downstairs and saying, "Hi, wife. Mind if I just fly away and abscond from all my responsibilities? I want to watch a rocket ship take off." And so I want to spend a whole day doing it.
Yeah? Did you get a verdict, or is the jury still out?
It sounds like I'm off the hook, but with a...
but with a side eye.
Well, and a specific commitment to make good on long-standing promises. It's
Oh.
yeah, I'm gonna have to pay off a debt.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's busy times. Did you, I know you're not going to be on spoiling time tonight, but how much of all of the big shit that's dropped
Man,
lately?
just so much stuff dropped, right?
Yeah.
Watched first 2 episodes of Altered Carbon.
Okay.
Watched the new Counterpart.
Okay. I haven't seen that yet. I was going to watch that after.
Did not, obviously.
See Cloverfield Paradox?
Yeah, I was not prepared for that. They're messing with my show schedule. Did you watch it? Was it good?
I did watch it. I will save it. I need to save it
Okay.
First part. I need to process it still.
All right. I mean,
The reviews are mixed to negative. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I fell on it. I think it's a very cool concept, and I think by the end it just gets really muddled up in what is actually happening and why.
that's always a good sign when the big question of a movie is what is happening
And why?
Yeah.
It's cool. It's very well shot, very high budget because I mean it was going to be a theatrical release, and something I read on either Variety or Hollywood Reporter was that the movie cost about $45 million to make, and with Netflix buying it, it instantly became profitable. So,
Wow.
For the movie theaters at least, or for Paramount.
I would not be shocked if it's one of the most watched things that have ever been on Netflix within a 24-hour period, because like you can't really buy that kind of
That publicity.
hype,
Well, I mean, I guess technically you can. They did. That's
Well-
what they did.
But I don't think that they're ever going to be able to do that again, because once Netflix kind of broke the mold on like, oh, well, normally this massive audience that all watches one thing,
Mhm.
they get to promote something on that network, right? So there's always like the hot show from that network, and this year it was This Is Us or whatever,
Yeah.
gets to be the show that's on
After the Super
right
Bowl.
after the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And so the question will be next year, because Netflix cracked the code and was like, oh shit, we can just put something that like vaguely people are excited about, like let alone something that they can just drop it out of nowhere.
Well, and
Like,
to specifically wait until the game is over for it to
Yeah.
happen, to like continue that shared time. Because if they just dropped it whenever the ad dropped, then people still watching the game, people waiting for the halftime performance, people
Yeah.
who were watching the Puppy Bowl
No,
and didn't even see the ad.
Everybody right now do what is more natural than just as natural as changing the channel used to be.
Mhm.
Flip on over to Netflix. That's where you're gonna want to be. Watch this new thing.
Yeah.
So I'd be shocked if we didn't see stuff like that from Hulu and every other thing. That it's like, all right, buy one ad, very expensive ad. Now you can compete with the whatever the big, like after the Super Bowl, watch a very special episode.
So, speaking of ads and the Super Bowl, I guess what was Tide's thing? They did a series of ads parodying other ads.
So they did ads. So it started off with one ad with the sheriff from Stranger Things as the spokesperson.
Okay.
Right? Was he? Did he start it? It's like it starts. Hold on. I think
No,
it's-
he was in all of them. It was it starts out with him just doing an ad that kind of looks like other ads. So it's like the wacky beer commercial and the like families in the living room like thing. And so but he kept saying like, oh, this is a Tide ad. Why? Because everybody's clothes are clean. When you think about it, every ad's a Tide ad because everybody's clothes look really clean, like you would with Tide.
And so
then they just had
once they set up that anchor, just all you had to do was say this is a Tide ad and everything.
And so they dropped because it's Procter and Gamble, right? So they like started off doing like a Mr. Clean commercial, and they cut away, and it's him in the Mr. Clean.
Oh,
outfit,
so
and
it's
he's
all
like,
Procter and
"This
Gamble
is-
brands.
This is a Tide ad.
Oh, okay, that solves the question because I saw Isaiah Mustafa, the
Yeah.
guy from the Old
They
Spice
did
ad.
an Old Spice one.
I
with the
saw
weird
that-
long horse.
Yeah, I saw him tweet out that ad, and then I was like, oh, I guess that's the thing they're doing.
Yeah, and I think they did some integrations like within the Super Bowl reports or something, maybe, or I don't know. I saw a compilation of them on. It was actually really good. I thought it was not very long, and it it was clever. It was a clever thing.
No, basically, it's also just very the Super Bowl ads were very reflective of our modern era, where all the Super Bowl ads were like either just like so bizarre, like just a brand just being like, I mean, whatever, buy our product or not, like who cares? Or it was like way over the top, like the legacy of Martin Luther King to free a people means that you should buy our truck.
Chevy truck.
What?
Oh God, gross.
There was like one where it was like
Yeah.
it's like a Toyota ad where like heads of like every possible faith.
Yeah, like a rabbi, a minister.
Rabbi and a pastor and an imam and other things that I don't want to speculate on what they're called because it would be racist. And they all get together and it's like, well, we all have a rooted faith in God and a love for this Toyota truck.
We're all in this together. This being the Toyota. What was the Westworld 2 trailer dropped? That's coming back in April. That was a good trailer that they put out. It made me remember what happened in Westworld.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope that the entire season isn't a bunch of robots in the robot Congress debating what should be done by robots. Like, let's just move this stuff along. Like, let's the rampaging, the rioting. Like,
I mean that's what they put on the bill of sale. So
seems like I hope that they keep to it.
Yeah.
I hope that they keep to it.
HBO, for whatever you think of any one show, they have like a good like marketing promotional arm. Like you look at some of the Netflix stuff and you're like, really? That's how you're going to promote X, Y, or Z? But HBO usually has that on lock.
To me, the pinnacles of montage editing have always been, like when HBO does the like what's on HBO this month, like but to like a pop song, like it'll be like some like big soaring like pop song, and they're like editing together like all the different movies that they have and the clips from the shows, like.
Yeah.
Like those are always to me like I'm like I don't even like any of these movies, but like man, you really made me think that I should be excited for Superman Returns on HBO this month. Look at Brandon Routh. He turned his head just as that beat dropped.
Ooh. All right, you guys want to do Weird Show?
Yeah, I'm tweeting it out.
Ah, very good. We're at twitch.tv/Night Attack, of course. Or diamondclub.tv.
Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. There we go.
Oh, let me play that.
Beedle-leap, bop, bop, boo-doop, boo. Scuba-da, beeda-ba-do.
All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Weird Things podcast. I am Bryce Castillo, your de facto host.
Your perpetual host. You've always been the host.
I've always been the host.
You will always be the host.
That's Brian Brushwood.
Hello.
And Justin Robert Young.
Well, hi friends, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing? We're all coming back from the big game, the very big game.
The large contest, as it's called.
The incredibly big footballs.
The most dangerous game.
Well, speaking of dangerous, I wanted to jump right into a news story. You know, birds are generally pretty smart, right? I mean, we consider certain species of birds to be really smart.
Yeah, you got like ravens and crows. In fact, there's a scheme I read about like a couple weeks ago where they would set up these stations that had computer ID things that had cameras and could understand whether or not a cigarette butt was placed in them. And so basically you would train the local bird populace to exchange cigarette butts for food tokens. So
really?
Yeah, so and I was so pleased because like I had that idea I like 20 years ago. I was thinking like, why don't we genetically modify ants to be obsessed with picking up cigarette butts? Or I guess nowadays you don't quite see them quite so often, but they call it the crowbar.
The crowbar from Crowded Cities. Yeah, no, I actually read a report about this a few months ago. This is ingenious. They put these devices out and they train the local population to understand, cigarette butts lead to food. Put the cigarette butts here, you get food out of it. And it's really ingenious.
Plus, also, you get the extra benefit of knowing that every time someone goes out to smoke, all these crows are going to show up and just stare judgingly. like, you going to drop that? You going to drop that? What are you doing? What are you doing?
That's amazing. I guess really the only thing would be if you got to make sure that you're throwing all those cigarette butts out. Huh?
Yeah, it's like do the responsible thing. Don't deny the birds the right to eat. Throw your cigarette butts on the ground like a civilized human. And let the
It's
lesser
all
beings
fun and
pick it
games
up.
until some chain smoker decides they're going to be king of the crows by like just putting their own cigarettes butts in and
Oh, people
fuck all the
feeding
fucking-
the crows butts.
I would like to believe that at a concert, the chain smokers are like, everybody, throw them on the ground. The crows will do our bidding.
As the chain smokers
Go
speak.
feed the crows.
So that's kind of a man-made, invention. This crowbar idea of taking crows, intelligence and problem
Leveraging,
solving.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. In Australia, they've actually found documented reports, or there become more documented reports of birds, Australian raptors, as this Cosmos magazine article claims, or calls them, will actually start fires.
How do birds start fires?
Well, in most of these instances, it is the birds taking lit kindling.
Oh,
or
taking existing fire and much like
spreading it.
ancient man before they figured out the trick of rubbing sticks, to take a stick that's on fire, take it somewhere else, spread.
Yeah, like from Bob Gosford, an ornithologist. Usually black kites, sometimes brown falcons, will pick up a firebrand or stick not much bigger than your finger and carry it away to an unburnt area of grass and drop it there to start a new fire. A lot of the uses for the birds to do this has been to corner prey and to limit movement and get prey into their.
That's heavy duty. And I guess it makes sense. Like even a bird could figure out, hey, you ever notice that when there's a fire around, all these mice like freak out and just sort of stand there, and they're really easy to pick up and pluck from above?
They are pattern recognizing creatures. There is no doubt about it. To train a bird is literally just to continue to give it the right stimulus, and they will continue to do whatever you want.
And not only are they using that to hunt prey, in some instances their methods have been shown to be acting as fire control to try to limit fire damage, not just
Okay,
to hunt prey.
that sounds a little bit more far-fetched to me.
Alex Kasselnick, an expert on animal tool use, says many species have learned to respond to natural fire by escaping from it or exploiting it to hunt fleeing prey, but these hawks are showing a form of fire control. This is the first he has heard of this in a non-human animal.
So they're setting like control burns to make sure that the fire doesn't get too outlandish.
I mean, that's what it sounds like, right?
Yeah, it's incredible. Now, apparently, the imagery of birds taking and lighting things on fire has been an image in Australia for a very long time. I'm trying to see here. Their Aborigines people have dreaming fire ceremonies. The Lorcan and the Yabudurwa ceremonies from the Arnhem Land region.
What now?
Which incorporates scenes involving the reenactment of birds spreading fires from places to places. So this is not only a very strong use of pattern recognition and problem solving, but it's also a problem or a situation that has existed for apparently a very long time.
So, I mean, it's not for me to doubt the methods of scientists, but as I'm trying to wrap my mind, I could very easily picture a bird understanding whenever there's smoke and fire around, prey is really easy to grab. I can get that. But that preemptive, like a bird being around long enough to say, you ever notice that when a bunch of fires are going, they rage out of control, but if there are smaller fires around, that they form a barrier? I don't know.
I don't know that they're. I think they are doing the wording on this is maybe a little weird. Showing a form of fire control.
So maybe it's purely instinctual. They're not really thinking it through.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. I don't think that they're like, let's make sure this fire doesn't get too big. I think that it's just they found the most effective way to do this, and the most effective way to do this.
So
or it could be very localized in
this
terms of like protecting
so
a nest.
if you think of a particular say 1,000 hectares as an independent ecosystem, that system compared to other 1,000 hectare systems, that one where the birds are touched in such a way that they feel this compulsion to start tiny fires to surround the big fire tends to survive and do better than the other one.
Yeah. Apparently, the Aboriginal groups in Australia have known about this idea and have spoken about it. I mean, we just mentioned that it's been a part of their imagery. From this Cosmos Magazine article, European scientists, however, have shown a reluctance to accept the observation of Aboriginal Australians, which explains why the seemingly widespread behavior has not been scientifically documented until now.
And even that makes sense too, right? Because if you have
people are racist.
Exactly. I mean that's what I'm thinking. Like Western scientists are probably going to have prejudices that cause them to be all like.
Well, I mean, it doesn't appear that these Aboriginals have had a peer-reviewed demonstration of this fire.
Speaking of which, who are their peers? Wallabies, I submit. Maybe a kangaroo next.
The koalas.
One, Dr. Racist.
So this is the beginning of this report. A lot of what's happening now is going out and getting these stories from people who live out in the northern parts of Australia, where most of these reports are coming out of. What do you guys think the next step in terms of this overall scientific research is?
I mean, I guess really the short-term benefit is to reinforce what Justin was saying at the beginning, which is birds are pretty clever pattern-recognizing creatures. And, I mean, as with any other discovery, the next step is to figure out how that makes money for me, humanity. How's that good for me?
Exactly. The next step is the Friday email blast from Modern Rogue about how to train your bird to light fires.
Yeah, what do you think, Justin?
I think this is very likely, and beyond just saying that academics are racist. This is, I mean, some of these parts of Australia are not easy to get to, nor is this kind of behavior easy to track. If it's just like, hey, every once in a while birds do this thing, like that's kind of a hard thing to know exactly where this kind of behavior is going to happen. So I would hope that we just did more to do it, because when you watch, I mean, there are just even like YouTube videos of like birds solving problems that will blow your mind. Like, there's definitely any kind of species that is very often prey and therefore has to be very, very clever, which many birds are, I think will surprise you when you look at like what their capacity for problem solving is.
Yeah.
Do you think Dr. Bird could like put out like a small fire?
Yeah,
Dr. Bird.
How much smarter do you think Dr. Bird is than you give him or her credit for?
I mean, they have a PhD.
Yeah, well, he
MD.
does. He is Dr. Bird. There is no denying that. Well, I mean, I would say it's hard to say that we underestimate him since we fawn over this tiny little cockatiel. But like, I do think that if like we've gotten to the point now where I've got him trained to kind of like fly to me when I want him to, and I know, or at least I believe I know, where he is showing intelligence in just not wanting to deal with me. And like I know when he's either scared or compliant, obviously because he flies to me, or, and this is where I'm probably I'm assigning my own human emotions to him, where I just think he's like, no, not right now. So this is something that shortly before he passed away, Michael Crichton would give speeches talking about how bad we are at predicting complex systems. And he was talking about it in terms of the environment. But one of the examples he gives is anybody who has had a toddler understands the unpredictability of predictive capabilities when it comes to complex systems, because you can
you could do everything exactly the same as you tell a kid to go wipe their behind or clean up their room or whatever.
Yeah.
And for
Completely different
what
results
looks
for no
looks
reason.
like identical setup conditions, just those whatever tiny little thing, time of day, what he watched last night or whatever, will completely shape a different outcome.
One of the researchers says that their next steps will be actually setting controlled fires with the help of Aboriginal land managers to try to capture footage of the avian firebugs in action. They're actually going to try and see if they can get,
Man, what a wild thing. So
firsthand
you start with the legends, and then you have to get eyes, boots on the ground, eyes on the scene to verify the legends.
That
And
action,
now you have to capture, because none of that matters. We all know that we're all flawed wetware, and that somebody could show up at a bird conference and say, "I seen it. That bird. He said he was heroic. He was a hero." That's probably not the best presentation at the ornithology convention.
I seen it.
I seen it. That bird.
Please get off the stage. Dr. Racist is up next.
Dr. Racist is up.
Well, I think that it's an absolute waste.
But then not only do you have to catch it, but then you think about how many years it's going to take to continue to set up these things, because any one example won't be statistically significant. You got to do, you got to start 100 fires and show that more often than would be expected by chance, birds go around setting preventative fires to keep them contained.
Yeah, I mean, when fire, like the end of this article actually makes a really interesting point. Up until now, humans and lightning have been regarded as the only vectors of fire in Australia, but now there's, quote, cause to re-examine our understanding of fire history and how fire works in the landscape.
I mean, well, the concept of resistance to fire is what is all.
There we go. We did it.
Well, wait a minute. Okay, so they're saying, but these birds aren't starting the fires, right? So there is a fire, and then they are using that fire to go set other fires.
Right. Also, they're not singing about how they did not start the fire. There's not bird song that goes cheep 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 cheep. Cheepy,
That was
cheepy,
a very
cheepy,
long
cheepy.
bird song. A very, very long.
That's the part of Snow White they don't show you.
Cheepy,
No,
cheepy,
exactly.
cheepy, cheepy,
No,
Marilyn
it's just like-
Monroe.
Vietnam War.
So apparently we know that they're taking them to unburnt areas. We don't. I guess part of this will be discovering how far away they're spreading these existing fires. So, it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out.
That's interesting. That's another behavior that I could see is, imagine birds knowing that it's useful to have, lacking the ability to start a fire on their own. I could see them evolving to become good stewards of fire, where we're like, oh, hey, that's a fire. That's a real useful thing because you could drop a branch and it scares up all the mice. Mm-hmm. So instinctually, we know that if this fire
time to attack,
specifically basically I know if we just watch, this fire is going to go out. So take some of these twigs and constantly keep tending. Keep a fire lit at all times, right?
Interesting.
Which is the way I would do it, because I can't start a fire.
Yeah.
No.
So you would just find a fire naturally occurring and then continue
and
to
then, and then just continue to spread it around.
That's why it takes so long for the magic show to prep. You have to wait for a fire to happen.
I have to wait for a
around
naturally
you.
occurring fire before I could light that first torch, and then I come over. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, that sounds like a real hardship. The kind of hardship that you can help keep us out of by donating to patreon.com/weirdthings. Now, a lot of you have told us over the years, hey, how can I share my wealth with you? Well, we finally have answers.
And a lot of you are loaded. We understand. It's a challenging burden. You've worked hard and you've achieved your success, and you want to know how you can spread that wealth around. Well, do we have something for you?
It's called Patreon.
Weirdthings.com. Patreon.com/weirdthings. That's where you need to go. Go ahead and kick us whatever you have. You got $1, Give us $1. You have $5,000? Give us all of them. Why not? I mean, like, you only live once.
And you can give it to us up front. You don't have to wait,
Yeah, a lot of people
5,000
will
weeks.
insist, like, 5,000, let's spread it out over the next 10 years.
Budget it.
Not us. We're flexible. We're flexible, and we're willing to accept all you want to give.
Remember the old Weird Things motto, give us your money.
Give us your money, and we'll talk about birds.
Yeah,
If you decide to give us $1, you'll get early access to our sister show After Things, all about being a creative professional. And you'll get a special green color in our Discord, nightattack.tv/Discord. It looks very nice. It's a very nice green.
It is.
Yeah.
Dude, it's pretty great. And thank you to everybody who does support us. It is awesome that you guys care about independent science content.
Yeah, man. Every time it's a new month, you hit that bump where a bunch of people remember. Oh wait, I'm spending money. I'm Mr. Don't Spend Moneyton. I don't spend money, and then they
Why
cancel.
did I even make an account?
yeah. Well, how did I end
How
up
did I
on
get in the
Patreon?
system? I went very far before I
I'm
realized
Don't
what I was
Spend
doing.
Moneyton. And so I don't know. It makes me so
What a
happy.
Curious curiosity. I just don't spend money, and yet here I am spending money.
I'm going to call my friend Dr. Racist and have a conversation
yes.
about this. Why am I spending money? But I'll tell you, it really warms my heart how so many people are supporting independent creators. It's really great.
Man, there's a lot more voices when Andrew isn't on the show. Or whenever Andrew is the restrictor cap on.
He's the restraining bolt on the droids. All of a sudden we go BB-8 and become a miscreant.
As soon as Andrew's gone, it's just all like.
Gentlemen, do you know about humanzees? Have you heard of the term
Please don't
humanzees?
make these be what they sound like they are. I know that chimpanzee are our closest kissing cousins in the environment or the tree of life. I know that we share 99.5% DNA with them, and I'm terribly afraid you're about to introduce an episode of the Island of Dr. Moreau here.
No, do you,
Me too.
So you guys might remember from the 70s, Oliver the Chimp. Do you remember Oliver the Chimp?
No, I remember Nim, who learned language, allegedly, and Coco knows language. I don't know this one.
Wait a minute. Who was that CD World? All I saw was an ad on the side of that. The
What?
CD World of
This is this is more Sun. This is from the Sun
Oh.
article. We're trying to
You will
focus on
know
the
them by the
standing
company they
upright.
keep. The quality of the articles. Right next to We'll Sleep Together, the CD World of sex for rent.
Sure. No, we're talking about humanzees. So in the 70s, there was a chimp named Oliver, who, based on his propensity to stand upright, and he had sort of a flatter face and a more the pointed nose. People believed he might be the first humanzee, a missing link between human and chimpanzee.
Okay, but the problem, and I'm sure we're about to dive in and you'll bring all this up. This is one of the miscommunications or the misidentifications of creationists, is that they seem to feel like I didn't come from no chimpanzee, but it's like, no, but humans and chimpanzees very likely had an ancestor that bridged the gap between them. So I guess I'm curious how it could be that a chimpanzee would morph so close to, you don't see those lateral changes. You see lineage.
Yeah, well, and to finish off the story of Oliver, he rose to prominence in the idea that he was a missing link or a humanzee, a mixture of a human and a chimpanzee in the 70s. And then in, I want to say, the early 2000s, geneticists did a test and found out that he was just a chimpanzee with
that
48
happened to
chromosomes.
stand up.
Yeah,
Right.
basically. So apparently a new report is coming out now. Gordon Gallup, who came up with the term humanzee, claims that a former university professor told him that a humanzee was successfully created in the 20s and then was killed by the doctors who birthed it.
Are right. And then,
What?
okay. Forgive me if this is uncouth, but
Okay.
100 years ago, I would only imagine, shall we say, more rudimentary methods to blend two different species than nowadays.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I was young and I needed the money.
Dr. Racist, what are you doing?
It was a different world, a different time.
well, and it was, in a quote.
Hold on, wait a minute. Before we get into the details on this, and whatever this crackpot is saying, 100 years ago, 1920, there was the drive to crossbreed a human and a chimpanzee.
Oh man, I want to say that there's even stories or legends of like it being a Nazi super soldier campaign. Like
This is 2 decades before, or a decade and a half before
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones.
As part of this article, the most infamous humanzee project was conducted by Russian biologist Ilya Ivanov, also in the 1920s, who tried and failed to create a Soviet super soldier using human sperm and female chimps.
Okay, first of all, great name. Olva Ivanov. What was it?
Ilya Ivanov.
Yeah, it might as well be Evilov. Okay. We must stop Dr. Evilov and his plans to create super soldiers. Yeah. Dr. Racist, to me. He flies. Like, I see you've evolved wings, Dr. Racist.
They'll finally get the respect of those aboriginals.
If you can't beat them, join them, I say. It's the third act. It's time for transformation.
Super Saiyan Dr. Racist.
Is this your final form?
Back to my ivory tower, extra white.
But yeah, so there are various reasons for trying to just prove the hybridization between chimpanzee and human, including this study. They inseminated a female chimpanzee with human semen from an undisclosed donor and claimed not only that pregnancy occurred, but the pregnancy went full term and resulted in a live birth.
Okay. Oh boy, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Number one, what are the odds that this is factually accurate?
Also, what are the odds that the 1920s really were roaring? Holy crap! The new rage, the human Z, is coming to a city near you.
Could your job be replaced by the human Z? We go to famed Dr. Racist.
They'll be winning all the dance contests.
So yeah, there's questions about this. This is a story. This is
We're
like
in the
third-hand-
monkey. We're in the monkey. We've got a lot of what it takes to make humansies. Sorry.
So this is a third-hand report. This is from a gentleman, from Gordon Gallup, who says that a professor of his worked at a research facility where this occurred. So this is third-hand knowledge at this point.
Well, here, in support of this, we can understand that the world that they are discussing was far, far different, obviously, than our own in terms of like an urban legend. An urban legend then could have just been an urban legend. Like there's far less ways that we can verify things were real then than we can now, right? I mean, that's
and also let's acknowledge that part of the strength, I'm using air quotes, of this story is that, you know, we've seen insane kind of crossovers. You know, a liger is a real thing. There's a lion and a tiger having sex, you know, and
Mules?
mules, and it's what, a donkey and
Donkey and a horse?
Yeah, a donkey and a horse.
Yeah.
And granted, you know, what you get is, you know, sterile and not right. I don't know that I could push it entirely out of the realm of possibility that this could actually happen. I'm not comfortable with the thought.
Yeah, that
but
Well, also,
but-
I mean, I guess the one thing the missing piece was, for no pun intended, just the idea that there was this drive in that period of medical history. There was a sense that like trying to explore the fringes of our biology by creating new species.
his quote continues, in a matter of days or a few weeks, they began to consider the moral and ethical considerations, and the infant was euthanized.
I mean, that also sounds like
That's shady.
perfectly on the nose storytelling to wrap up a ghost story as, you know,
Yeah.
to make the lack of evidence for the thing. Like, you know, and because they were so ashamed, think about it. Have you ever heard of it? That's right. That's proof that it must have happened.
Another reported case also happened in Maoist China in 1967, where a female primate became pregnant with a human hybrid only to die from neglect after the lab's scientists were forced to abandon the project following the outbreak of the Cultural Revolution.
I feel like we're starting to see some similarities in a lot of these stories where it's like no, but for real, I do have a girlfriend in Canada. She just decided.
It's
that we should
only
never
because
talk
of the Cultural Revolution that, you know, we decided to call it quits.
You
It was
know,
just too weird.
I started weighing the moral implications of my girlfriend in Canada, and ultimately I decided that, you know, after going all the way, we couldn't stay together.
So this transitions a little bit into our next story. If you two worked at a research lab,
Which we do.
Which
It's
you do.
the Brian Gerbs Foundation for a Better World.
Yes.
Asterisk, and the asterisk says a better world to be defined per our charter coming spring 2019.
it's a very big keychain.
It's a very big keychain. It's the Institute for a Very Big Keychain. So we're gonna build it. It's gonna be huge, and we're gonna keep all of our keys on it.
If let's say, hypothetically, you were immunologists, you were studying.
Which we are. I keep telling you this.
we listen.
Sure.
Also, vaccines cause autism. I've been
Christ
saying that for
almighty.
years. That's a true fact that you can believe.
Yes, quite right. Me too.
So, Dr. Racist.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Now, does it cause autism in all races?
Well, wink.
And let's say you were testing on some monkeys.
Okay.
You were treating them with diseases to try to.
It was giving them. It's not exactly treating them.
Well,
giving them diseases.
But you would, as you would give them vaccines to try to test
okay. But-
immunology.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, I got you.
Sure. What if one of the monkeys escaped? How long of a monkey escaping capture
long
is
enough to
acceptable?
infect Kevin Spacey with whatever psycho bug makes him touch every. I'm talking about the
Wowzers.
movie Outbreak. Remember, he died in the movie Outbreak.
No, I guess.
I'm acting like that's why he became a monster, is because he.
Yeah.
Who? Dr. Racist. What's going on?
Yeah. I love it. It 7 still holds up.
But how long?
Oh, I didn't know you were such a cinephile, Dr. Racist.
I'm still able to watch K-Pax.
Now, did you mind that he was portraying a non-human in K-Pax?
Oh well, you know, I love Usual Suspects as well.
Well, even though they had a racially and ethnically diverse cast.
Yeah, not my fave.
He's able to put aside his personal feelings.
Take your lane, Spacey.
No, but how long of a test subject being escaped and potentially, you know,
Corrupting the
transmittable,
outside world.
How long?
What kind of diseases are we talking about here? Where are we at?
Is it pimples? Were they trying to cure pimples? Because maybe that's okay. Maybe he's that lovable character who goes up and down Hollywood Boulevard, and if he gives you a kiss, you'll never have pimples again.
So I'll say that
No, that old chestnut.
And you're like, oh, that's Mr. Chimpy.
Mr. Chip, let him kiss you, honey.
So I'll say that this lawsuit does not name what diseases necessarily you were using on the monkeys.
Hold on, are they suing the monkey? What? Who's suing who?
Well, so a former immunology professor from the University of Pittsburgh is actually suing the university for wrongful termination or whistleblower laws because
he spread the word that a monkey with a super cure for pimples had escaped.
there were two instances, one where a monkey and one where a rabbit escaped, and he was told not to write them up as exposure incidents.
So this is rabbit v monkey.
Rabbit v monkey. In
Rabbit
Pokemon.
v Wade.
God Almighty. And so the apparently it was originally reported that they were out of the cage, but it was just for a little while, and then he blew the whistle and reported that it was actually for like kind of a few hours. And then the lawsuit is claiming that he's been treated unfairly since blowing the whistle.
So, the theory, the story as he would tell it, is that the university realizes that this is a major incident when something gets into an uncontrolled environment that has experimental disease vectors in it, and they would prefer that it all kind of just kept quiet. Yeah. And then meanwhile, he reported it as it was and feels maligned by the university.
Because it was also sort of on his watch. He just to get into the weeds a bit about this lawsuit. The
monkey was into weed.
His access to quote select agents, these diseases, was restricted until he went orientation and training. And even after then, his access was not restored. He was unable to complete his research and was subsequently fired.
Did you say subsequently?
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 Whatever.
I like subsequently. That's pretty good.
Subsequently seems like something that you'd be like, oh, geez, here's old subsequent again. Like,
hey, man, most people do it sequently, but we're going to be more low key than that. We're going to be subsequently. Be cool. Hey man, let's keep it subsequent.
But
all right. So wait, hold on. Let me before we get off on the subsequent thing. All right. So the one thing that I think that is kind of important to this story is realizing exactly how cliquey all of this kind of research stuff is. That you are on a team and the professors and the leads are people that need to keep it together because ultimately you are fighting against allocation of funding within your university. You are looking at grant research, stuff like that. There's a lot of politics that goes into things. And if something kind of doesn't go wrong, totally right, you want to make sure that there's an element of PR to it, that you're not putting your worst foot forward at the very least. And sometimes I think that can lead to maybe a little bit too much dirt being swept under the rug. And it becomes less PR and more outright lying.
Yeah. So, but how, if you were in this situation where you had a subject escape, how long? Like, what is the 5-second rule for an infectious
I think it's
disease?
literally 5 seconds. Yeah. I think if it's been more than 5 seconds, which is like all of them, then you might have a responsibility to share some stuff.
And the key is this guy wound up covering his own ass because he had to file the report, right?
Yeah. And
so the report was this monkey was not infectious when he knew for a fact that it was, and he was instructed. Is that, do I have this story right? Or
he was I think he was responsible for the monkey getting out, but was told to not report it as an exposure incident by one of his higher ups. He was told to hide it.
This is one of those like let's figure out a word for it that doesn't sound so damaging to all of our contributors and our reputation in academia or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So was he supposed to be saying that the monkey wasn't out at all, or the monkey was not infectious?
Let me see here.
It sounds like I said, don't categorize it as an exposure event, because
Yeah.
I'm sure there are animals that get loose, and I'm sure there are these things. And at some point, you have to check a box.
Yeah.
Is this an exposure event? Should we call the CDC and tell them what we've been up to and explain
Yeah.
that this thing's out there?
Cole, which I believe is the last name of the researcher bringing the lawsuit, says Cole took it upon herself to review the university's report of the incident and found what she called a, quote, notable error in the report, namely that the infected laboratory monkey had only escaped its cage for a short time when it had actually escaped for several hours.
I mean, but also that's one of the brilliant things about this is that a short time is a very amorphous definition. I mean, you know, if I'm going to go to Florida to see a launch of a rocket and come back, a few hours is a short time. If I am a diseased monkey released into the wild, you might think a few hours is not a short time.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, and again, that's why I think that this is so interesting, because ultimately, this dude effed up and wanted to be clean on how he effed up, and that would be damaging to the entire organization, and so he was told to shut up, and now I guess he's upset because everybody looks at him like a real snitch jamoke.
Yeah.
Snitch Jamoke. That's Dr. Racist's real name.
Christian name.
Oh, born to the Connecticut Jamokes.
We got another story here. I want to show you a picture of this headline from the USA Today.
All right. Oh, geez. We got some kind of critter, and it says here, in these waters, it's not good fish that are biting.
It's not good that fish are biting.
Oh, it's not good.
So, Justin, can you
my
describe
God.
this
So,
image?
like, there are in this open fish's mouth what look like
Human
fully
teeth.
formed human teeth.
That's right. It looks like human teeth, doesn't it?
Or chimpanzee teeth. Or
humanity teeth.
It's terrifying. It's
Oh my
terrifying.
God. The human Z screwed that fish. Maybe they didn't finish the job.
Apparently, this is not an abnormality. There's the pacu fish, which is a
It
very,
has just human-ass teeth?
which has
Oh my God.
it is similar to the piranha, though it grows much larger. And
Okay, and for the audio listeners, I want you to, right now, take a selfie of your lower set of teeth, or look in the mirror or anything, and then just imagine that just flatly photoshopped onto an eel or some crap.
Yeah, its bottom row of teeth has about 6 or 7 human-sized proportioned
And then
teeth.
little tiny teeth beyond that.
That's right.
God.
This is the pacu fish. It was found in Arizona.
In Arizona?
It was found in Arizona.
You go, what, just baking in the sun underneath a saguaro cactus?
No,
Saying, please, I swear I'm not a fish, please?
not quite. It was in the Silver Bell Lake. It was fished out on the north side of the Silver Bell Lake, even though the pacu fish is a native to South America.
I think that's somebody's grandfather who went to Arizona to retire and just spent too much time swimming, and then the sun caught him unawares, shrank his body, but not
Except the
his
teeth.
but not his dentures. And my guess is he is quite a conversationalist.
That's a strong theory.
Okay, so Silver Bell Lake is in the far west coast of Arizona, bordering with California, right by Lake Havasu and the Havasu National Wildlife Region. Or no. Oh, never mind.
So
I got
it's
the
up
wrong
by
way.
Tucson.
I got the wrong Silver Bell Lake.
I think this is correct, near Christopher Columbus Park, near Tucson.
So near Tucson. Okay. Oh yeah, no. I had the wrong one. There's another thing. All right, so it's right by Tucson. Holy crap.
Yeah.
So that is in the south of Arizona. And what? And so wait. So are these things? What?
To be
What
feared?
happened? What happened to these things, man? They got fish with teeth.
So,
They got smoking and applying for mortgages.
Hey, we're all paying for braces next.
Yeah, what's going on with these fish? They got teeth,
Yeah,
man.
I'm
What,
dead.
they're gonna be going to the Sizzler ordering steaks.
They're all vote for Obama.
oh God, it's too late to do that.
Not for these fish.
Yeah.
These fish.
Well, how do you think a South American relative of the piranha arrives in a lake in southern Arizona?
Movies.
Oh, I'll bet you some eccentric weirdo was like, some drug lord is like, the piranha. That's how I murder all of my unfaithful employees.
No, dude, I'm
South
convinced. I'm
America.
convinced somebody was making a sequel to Piranha 2. They probably called it Piranha 2 2.
No piranhas.
More
this time.
piranhas.
No, but they're not piranhas. They're pacu.
And then they brought it up, and then they had him in a tank, and they were supposed to flush it down the toilet. But then somebody, like a 7-year-old girl, was like, "Daddy, don't do it." And there's like, "Okay, I'll throw it in this lake instead. Nothing bad will come of this."
So this is definitely from the piranha family, but piranhas are not indigenous to that area at all, right?
No, unless they're retired piranhas.
I was gonna say,
They're-
yeah,
they're
Let's
taking
say
it
a
easy.
Very
The-
reasonable
The
retirement
dry air is great up there. I
Great.
love it.
rate for taxes.
That's plus, I mean, real estate is it's coming back.
So I would suspect that that this is some kind of weird mutation of an invasive species. Although if it were an invasive species, then you would have to imagine that the piranhas had some kind of run, there, unless somebody imported the Paco fish or whatever.
According to Mark Hart, a spokesman for the Arizona Game and Fish Department in Tucson, Game and Fish does not stock waterways with pacu fish. The ones that show up in community water start off as pets that people dump into the lakes when they get too big to manage. Because even though they start off and are related to piranhas, they can grow up to be about 2 feet long.
Wait, hold on. So people are buying these. I had never heard of this fish once in my life until literally right now. People are buying these toothy ass fish and
All right,
then
now-
tossing them in the lake.
Granted, the big difference is that you're not currently on meth or dealing, and you don't have any street cred to worry about establishing with exotic and strange killer fish.
Well, people buy them because they look like piranha. They will eat worms and small fish, but they mostly eat plants. So if you want to have what looks like a piranha,
Like a vegan piranha
you would get a young pacu fish.
with a hell of a grin. Look you right in the eye. Like, yeah.
Okay, I just Googled Pacu fish,
And what'd you get?
and I got a Snopes article.
Uh-oh.
Apparently, there is a legend. The claim is that the red-bellied Pacu, an invasive species related to the piranha but with human-like teeth, is known to have bitten off a man's testicles.
I believe it.
But it only has one row of teeth, really.
You know what? That's a soft bit. I'm told.
You're not sure.
mean-
No one really quite knows.
Well, apparently, here's what is true about it. The Pacu is a cousin of the piranha, and in 2001, one male swimmer was reportedly bitten on the genitals and one female swimmer on the leg by Pacu fish in Papua New Guinea. Both survived, but there's no documented instances of a Pacu fish biting a man's testicles off or anyone dying from a Pacu bite.
As my friend Dr. Racist likes to say,
Please, no,
better
Doctor.
safe than sorry.
Oh.
Don't get in there.
Okay, I can agree with that. Dr.
Look,
Ray.
even a stopped clock is right twice a day. I mean, granted, his was more racially motivated than mine.
You're damn right.
The regional aquatic wildlife program supervisor of Arizona Game and Fish said pacu fish are on Arizona's restricted wildlife list of animals that cannot be owned without a permit. The problem is that people buy pacu fish without permits, and the people selling pacu fish don't know the wildlife laws or that they need permits. You can also buy pacu fish online, where no one's going to
At
check.
our newest sponsor, pacufish.org. Use promo
we
code
got the
Weird
org.
Things at checkout and get 5 extra human teeth.
Wow, I'll tell you what. Wow, there's been sightings in I'm just looking for the Wikipedia. The majority of American states, this pacu fish is popular. People love this thing.
We got one here in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
But I mean,
Rope.
it's a dangerous looking fish. But if you know that if it mostly eats plants, then you would feel safer having it.
Now, some people are saying that it's tasty in the chat. Like, how far does it being tasty get you?
No, food fish. Theodore Roosevelt wrote of catching and eating pacu in his book, Through the Brazilian Wilderness. He described them as good-sized, deep-bodied fish and noted that they were delicious eating.
Today, the Amazon River is experiencing a crisis of overfishing. Both subsistence fishers and their commercial rivals compete in netting large quantities of pacu, which bring good prices in Brazil and abroad. So apparently, they is comparable to that of hybrid striped bass, tilapia, and rainbow trout, but superior to catfish.
And by the way, look, apparently this nut biting thing is worldwide. There was one in the strait between Sweden and Denmark led to media reporting of warning that the fish could bite your nuts.
I mean,
Why
it's
would
a
it want to do that?
Reason why there's a urban legend. The urban legend of the pacu fish biting off testicles is
Texticles. They've got the written word on them.
never testicle.
their teeth are strong enough to break tree nuts.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay.
they think
So
they're
they
walnuts.
actually eat tree nuts, but not your nuts.
Unless by accident.
Yeah, unless they decide to go nuts.
Unless your nuts are of the consistency and size of a tree nut.
By the way, that's one of the articles on the Modern Rogue this week was about counterfeits and double dipping. And one of the examples they gave is that apparently in parts of China, walnuts are popular both as the meat of the nut. You can have walnuts, right, to eat, but then also having walnuts like as fidget spinners, basically, for you to mix around in your hand is like a
Benoit
good luck
balls?
thing. Yeah,
Really?
kind of like Benoit balls,
Yeah.
right? And so some people figured out like, well, why not both? So rather than crack the nuts and sell the meat or keep them whole, they would slice the nuts in half, sell the meat, and then put like newspaper and lead shot in there,
Just
glue
keep
them
the
back
weight.
together, and then sell them as the
Wow.
fidget spinner
Fake
experience.
walnuts.
Yeah. Lots of good articles over at that
Oh,
themodernrogue.com.
interesting.
Modernrogue.com. Look at that.
Should check that out sometime. One last quick story here. In January of this year, January 23rd, I believe, there was a big earthquake in Alaska. Do you guys hear this? You hear about this? You see this?
Yep.
There were tsunami warnings. Thankfully, nothing too bad happened on that front. But what do you think is the furthest away an earthquake could affect geography?
Affect the geography, like initiated a landslide or something?
So, like the epicenter, I believe, was in Anchorage in Alaska. How far away do you think that earthquake could affect the landscape?
The only thing my mental Rolodex is coming up with is I know that when Krakatoa exploded, there was a shock wave felt literally all the way around the world twice. Like it did lapse. Like this thing exploded. There was like a rumble that went around the world, and then a second wave of the rumble again. So I'm gonna guess if you're talking about altering the geographic landscape, knocking over trees and whatnot. What, through 3,000 miles as far away as what, Mexico?
Okay, that's about right.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that because I'm not great at spatial understanding.
So this is I think you got the distance close about right, but maybe the effects of this specific earthquake. This was a 7.9 earthquake.
7.9. Keep in mind, like that Richter scale, like every 0.1 Richter is like 10 times more than the one before it. So like an 8.0 is 10 times bigger than a 7.9, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Florida, 3,800 miles away, the earthquake was so
Andrew Main was woken from his nap.
The earthquake was so powerful that it affected well water levels.
What? So it squeezed more water pressure into there?
It brought water levels up in Madison, Florida, and it brought water levels down in Fort Lauderdale.
They're stealing our water.
The frogs are turning gay
With no water.
with no water. I guess I could see that. So if you picture all of the water underground like capillaries all throughout and everything just sort of flexes, it makes sense that very minute change would squeeze water pressure, causing it to go way higher.
A water level rise from 41.59 feet to 41.77 feet was recorded at a well near Madison before it returned to normal. In Fort Lauderdale, the water level fell from 1.42 feet to 1.31 feet. The USGS says water levels in wells respond to seismic wave-induced expansion and contraction of the aquifer tapped by the well, in turn causing step or oscillatory fluid pressure changes. So basically, all that water is getting shook up. I think that's what they meant. That's the subtext.
I'm water.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy. I mean, that's something that I've kind of obviously had more appreciation for living out here than I did in Florida. Is just how interconnected all the kind of like rumblings whenever there's any sort of earthquake or anything, and you realize kind of like how far away it is compared to the fact that like you just felt whatever you just did in your location. Like it's pretty crazy.
Have you had any scary earthquake experiences since you went to the West Coast?
Not really scary. The one that I always found the funniest was we had an earthquake and the birds started going nuts. It was in the middle of the night. And Ashley was so concerned about the birds that she opened up the cage and they were flying around and going crazy. And then when it was all done, she was like, man, like the birds had real night terror. And I'm like, I think it was probably the earthquake. He's like, what earthquake?
Yeah, did you not notice the ground rumbling?
And so I remember everything kind of moving, and she was just so concerned with the health and safety of the birds that it was just something that fell under whatever else blinders, whatever else blocked out by the panic blinders.
Oh, it's amazing.
Apparently, some of in the past, some of these earthquakes have affected well water levels dramatically. In 1998, a 5.2 magnitude northwest Pennsylvania Temblor, rendered dry about 120 wells locally for 3 months.
Man, what a pisser, right? Like you dig a well, and then all of a sudden God
There's
just
no more water.
picks up the diorama of your planet and just sort of shakes it, and then everything drains away, and you're like, oh, you got me again, you bearded guy.
My water. Another score +1 for Gaia.
And in Denali, Alaska, in 2002, a 7.9 magnitude earthquake caused a well in Wisconsin to rise 2 feet. 2 full feet.
Listen, maybe this is a controversial opinion, but I don't think that's okay. I think we should pass a law, no more earthquakes.
Oh.
Make them illegal. I mean, all these people saying and they should be regulated. Like you think
we could tax them.
I mean, yeah, exactly, right? There should be an earthquake tax.
What is the crust of the earth supposed to do?
It's supposed to cough up that gold. We know it's sitting on billions of precious metals.
Hey, Mr. Tectonic. Why don't you go ahead and cough up that hidden gold you have?
Hi, it's me, Tectonic, your #1 field liaison for inner coastal commerce with the planet Earth.
And also one very specific cocktail. But, if we don't have earthquakes, then we probably have a lot of volcanoes.
Yeah, you know what? Tax them, too. I don't understand. I mean, they got gold in them lavas. Come on.
Why aren't you giving us the gold? Instead, only lava.
All right, well, that does it for stories. You guys want to do some picks?
Yeah, I do.
No Journey Quest, obviously, without our Journey Master. So I got to pick. I started watching watching a show the other day, and it's called The Handmaiden's Tale.
So you feel like with joy and optimism about the world around you? You just feel like you took a sweet vacation in a wonderful spot?
Let me see. Or Handmaid's Tale, not
Handmaid's Tale,
Handmaid.
yeah. On Hulu.
Tale. So I don't know how many are there. So there what, 10 episodes in the?
I think it's about 10.
There's 10 heartbreaks, as they call them.
So I'm at episode
10 opportunities to regret being part of humanity. 10
episode
10 regret. They call them the 10 regrets. You're just like, if you just want to feel miserable.
You regretted watching The Handmaid's Tale?
No, it was very challenging for me because it was not a fun place to visit, and it's like everything about that, by the end, there's a hint of a revolution or whatever, but it's like, man, it's not a fun place to visit for me, and it's artistic and beautiful and amazing and incredible and engaging, hypnotic, all the good things that come with good art. Also, not a place I'm happy with.
I mean, it's not resolved.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're gonna get a season 2, so I don't know where season 1 ends, but what was amazing to me was watching it as the amalgamation of so much other popular art. Like, you kind of realize how much of it a show of its time it is. Like, it has the dystopian elements of the Hunger Games, and it has the a woman making her way through an unjust society, like, reminiscent of Elizabeth or Elizabeth Moss's other character in Mad Men. And it has the flashback. I mean, some of the flashbacks are almost like right out of Lost in terms of having these like stories from back in the olden times reflect to where we are now.
And also like this unrelenting, like it's on you to keep up with whether this is a now thing or a previous thing. They don't do simple tricks like change the color palette to indicate if this is the past, the future, or the current or whatever. Instead, it's just like, much like a book, you're just dropped in there, and it's for you to figure out from context clues when this happened.
So I was not familiar with the book before I watched the series, but I'm curious to read it. If just because I wonder if when they were making it, they put any consideration to making it a period piece. So like now the show itself seems to be, we're given context clues that this is 5 years from present day. So we're in present day now when this theocracy is kind of set up. And it was 5 or 6 years ago when everything started to kind of, go the way that it wound up going. And I wonder whether or not there was a thought to kind of make it, because it came out in 1985, to make it more an early 80s story that then went 6 years in the future. So now we're in like an alternate 1995 or 1991 or something like that. Because there is the only part of the world building for the dystopian future that I found hard or challenging to kind of wrap my head around was kind of how quickly that revolution comes. Specifically, like I guess it just would have made more sense as a mid-80s story when like you're only, if you wanted to take over America, you'd really only have to shut down 4 broadcast networks and like 3 newspaper syndicates, and you would effectively control all media. Whereas now, when all of a sudden somebody turns the revolution switch, and now all of a sudden all these mechanisms are coming into place to control the populace, it just kind of seems a little weird in a era where like now when a New York Times article on Twitter before it even goes into print, right, can cause demonstrations in the streets,
Yeah.
Sure.
But other than that, we'll see how we get to the end. I think that the stuff it gets right, it gets really, really right. The stuff that can get a little tedious, has kind of gotten a little.
How far
tedious.
through the 10 episodes are you?
We just watched 8, so I think we have 9 and 10 to go. But we've fully kind of gotten into the palace intrigue portion. We've kind of come out of the this world. What is this world? And now it's our characters are playing the game.
Yeah, the season
Which
ends
is-
with a good amount of momentum. Like it'll be interesting to see where it goes from the start of season 2, because you get a real like, all right, we're doing something.
Yeah.
But I guess there is just kind of a question with that sort of fiction in general, which is, what do you do? Like, the Hunger Games, for whatever it was never really like. You kind of just you have to come to the problem of, do we just keep inventing reasons to put our main characters in the Hunger Games, right? Or do we tell this wider story of revolution and change and control and all that stuff, and ultimately that's where Hunger Games goes, spoiler alert. Whereas I think that the question for this show is like, okay, well, what is the more interesting story for us to tell? Is it our main character becoming more powerful in this awful dystopic kind of world, or is it this dystopic theocracy coming down? So
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing it.
Cool. Brad, do you have a pick?
Dude, I'm going to toot my own horn because we are now 2 weeks into this wonderful experiment, a.k.a. the Modern Rogue articles. If you go to themodernrogue.com, you'll see that we have new articles every weekday by some of the top writers. It's no big secret that a few months back, Cracked.com has, for the better part of a decade, been one of my favorite sources for really smart articles that give you some good enlightening takeaways, but then also mix in funny jokes and all that stuff. And I've always wanted the Modern Rogue to sort of grow into that space. And once all of a sudden everybody got fired, it was like, well, let's see what we can make happen. And so we were working with John Cheese, who's now editor-in-chief over there. And every one of these articles, my favorite thing is like, if it's 5 new ways to smuggle things that sound insane, and then like I finished the article, I'm like, I had never heard of all 5 of these. Has me really, really excited about where stuff is headed on there. Please check out themodernrogue.com. We got RSS feeds on there so that you can get daily content, and I think you're really going to enjoy it.
Yeah, very cool.
And follow the Twitter account, right? Because the Twitter account will get you all the new stuff as well, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe it's at Modern Rogue Show, and I think that's also it on Instagram. I have a pick. It's been a while since I read it, but I saw it the other day, and I was reminded how much I liked it. It's called Sacred Heart by Liz Suburbia. I think it started off as a webcomic, but you can get it as you can get the full story as like a trade, basically, on Kindle and on paperback. And it's a really interesting premise of what does a town that is only inhabited by teenagers and children do? Like, what story do you tell in this one very specific place? They still are going to school, kinda, and they're having parties and taking care of themselves, but also still have like romance and sexuality stuff. Like, it's really fascinating to set to like try to tap into these like traditional ideas of teenage and coming of age stories in a setting that is that is like both like mysterious and completely understood. It's not until the very end where you actually get an idea of why there are no parents in this town, and it's perfect and it's completely unexpected, and it's really cool. I would really recommend you check out Sacred Heart from Liz Suburbia.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for joining us for the Weird Things podcast again.
Yeah.
It's been weird.
Dr. Racist.
Oh, Oops.
All right, you guys need to take a short break before we do a little bit of after things. Maybe we'll keep after things short.
Beep, 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 beep.
Hi, everybody. How goes it on this Monday afternoon? There we go. Yeah, I didn't know that there was a Handmaid's Tale movie. I want to check that out. I wonder. Let me go to justwatch.com and see if you can stream that anywhere. Let's see. Hand. No, I want to click on your hand. Sale. Oh, it's only on buying. 41 Rotten Tomato. IMDb 6.0. Interesting. There you go. Whew. How you guys doing? You guys, we got a big rock. The rock block's a little heavy today. We got weird things and after things without Andrew, and then no Brian for Cord Killer. So I'll probably be doing some caller commentary on that, and then we'll watch a lot of stuff for spoiler time. So big spoiler time. We're going to talk about the new Cloverfield Paradox. We'll talk a little bit of Altered Carbon Counterpart, and we wouldn't be able to do it live on the air due to NDAs, but I think we might be recording some impressions of another big thing coming out soon. We'll see how that goes, and if the people who can talk about it feel good talking about it.
Wait, did Tom see a movie?
Tom and our guest for Cord Killers saw a film, and
on a Pantone scale, how would you describe the film?
on the higher on the darker side.
Okay, yeah. No, you should have just given me the hashtag, like,
Oh yeah,
like 4-digit.
pound FFFFFF.
Yeah.
I don't. So we might do something like that. We don't quite know just yet. What I think we'll play that by ear.
Who's the guest?
Good question. I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but I do believe it is Jacqueline Coley. So there you go. So stay tuned for that. That'll be
The lady from See It, Skip It, is she?
that she might be Jacqueline Coley. What do you guys?
Sorry, who are you discussing?
Who are you? Our guest for Cord Killers.
Oh,
At that Jacqueline, I believe.
Yeah, that's her.
Very cool. But yeah,
Yeah,
it'll be,
and so Brian, you were not a deeply uncomfortable experience that the Handmaid's Tale TV show.
Oh no,
Just
no!
not-
I mean, I
a
loved
world
it, and I
which-
couldn't stop watching it. But it was just such a bummer of a world. They did such a good job of taking me to that awful, awful place that it's like I just felt just dread and ill at all times. You know?
Yeah. I guess that's really the only thing that, and this is so pedantic and stupid of me, but like there is just one part of me that's like, nah, that's not how they would operate a Christian theocratic, military junta.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what parts I can talk about.
Of Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
That's fine. Hey, buddy. Hey, you're good. You're all good. I've got an after things topic for us,
Oh yeah.
so maybe we can just do a little quick thing.
Let's rock it.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the After Things podcast. This is the podcast that comes after the Weird Things podcast. I'm Bryce Castillo, the main host of the show all the time, whatever. Uh,
That's how he introduces himself every time.
Yeah.
It's me, the main host, all the time.
That's Justin Robert Young
Yo, what up?
and Brian
fam?
Brushwood.
Hello.
Guys, this week we've got a communique from a ghost from the dead.
Thank goodness. I was wondering whether or not the dead were sending emails or telegrams.
Yeah. When one Mandrew Ain wanted to know what your favorite software you used for getting things done. So,
I thought for sure he would say something like, well, what is your favorite app created for authors of pages? And or voice dictation for your novels.
So, getting things done stuff. I have been always bad about this. I think that's kind of a common complaint is that you pour yourself into some like program or application or something like that, and then eventually you just kind of fall off it, and it's hard to get in because a lot of those applications demand kind of like that's the point. The point is no, you're checking it every day, and you're checking it multiple times a day, and you're recording your progress. And you are hoping that creates a virtuous circle of feeling good about what you've done, which makes you want to check in more, which makes you want to record more, which makes you feel good when you get things done. I have never really been great at sticking with stuff. The stuff that I am on now, probably for communication, is Slack. I think Slack is just a great way to centralize a lot of communication. However, I do wish that it had a few kind of changes, or it's only as good as the people that you're on it with are about staying on it. So in many ways, it's more of a challenge than a getting things done app where you're just going up against yourself. But the other thing that I've used is Trello, Trello,
I've heard
and that's pretty much just like a place where you can add a bunch of boards and you can just move little Post-it notes kind of from like, got to do this. I got one card or one set of cards that says this is what I have to do. And then I have, a place to move it to done,
So
And,
this is
It's like visual organizing.
This is interesting. I have not yet ever found anything electronic that I like as much as writing stuff down on a piece of paper. And I think part of it is that the physical act of writing stuff down, it takes longer for you to write. Therefore, I think there's a mental unburdening. You're taking stuff out of RAM, i.e. your current focus, and putting it on the hard drive of written to-dos. And it takes you a while to write those words out. And then once it's down, it truly does feel gone from my brain. And viscerally, as I wake up in the morning and I look, I'm like, what's on my menu? And it's like, I'll see a list of 20 things and I'll think, which of these looks like the easiest one for me to knock out first? Because I just want that serotonin rush of scratching out, and it's like, I don't just draw a polite line or do a check mark. Like, I love that sensation of just scribbling, just blacking out whatever that thing is. Like the moment it's done with, I'm like, I can't even read what this word is. That's how gone it in the past and finished this issue is.
Do you have a like for me, when I am working on creative stuff, I like to use sketchbooks like Moleskines. This is actually Amazon. Amazon Basics are actually pretty comparable to Moleskines. So like I have like a journal of choice. Do you have a medium of choice or a type of...
You know what? Actually, here, hold on one second.
Okay. So, because I have an art school background, and so sketchbook is the perfect thing. And
this is actually so shortly after we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of Scam School, and right around the time that Scam School launched, I got a composition notebook. And I printed out the Scam School logo and put it on there. And I was like, this is my one thing. And so in here is artifacts. In fact, I should go back, considering that it's been like 10 years now. You could find, as you go through this, there's a mock-up of what I wanted the Scam School book to look like. And, years and years later, that's exactly how it turned out. You could see entire pages of pluses and minuses on what I ate and how much I worked out and how I ran and so on. Look at this, 8:10:09.
It's almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, almost 10 years ago. Like plus 350 calories, southwestern stew, 300 ramen, 80 tuna, minus 200 for a run, plus 90 turkey. Everything on here, and I like it being a physical artifact because it's not. Oh, look at this. There's notes about us going on the Adam Carolla podcast, Justin.
Oh wow, look at that.
Yeah, so it's like by virtue of this being my go-to thing, I love the fact that I inadvertently sort of wrote a diary basically with all this stuff.
So do you keep a composition notebook now?
No, because this one filled up, and
It turns out they make a lot of them, and they're
I should start another one for the next decade.
Yeah, I like I was saying, I like moleskins or just like art grade journal. You can get like, you know, I don't remember the name of the brand that I got once and hated, but if you get like, you know, these premium nice sketchbooks, they have nice thick paper. And I also use Pilot brand Varsity pens, which are disposable fountain pens.
Okay.
And so having the heavier, thicker paper stops it from bleeding through and bleeding onto the other sides and stuff.
Man, oh man, I just found my goals for 2009 on the very back page here. It actually says goals 2008, and then I X'd out the 8 and put 9. So apparently a lot of these didn't happen. But I wrote down...
Or did you just write the wrong number?
Yeah, no, it could be. 10 years ago, I wrote down international tour, England, Australia, and it took me a while. Since then, I have performed up in like Nova Scotia and overseas in Indonesia and Malaysia. But this year, I'll be going to Australia. I wrote Get Booked on the Tonight Show to promote the Scam School book. It wasn't to promote the Scam School book, but in 2009, I did do the Tonight Show again. I wrote down do a legendary South by Southwest panel, which I ended up that how to scam your way into anything showed up with a bunch of stuff. Let's see, new series launched dash web, which I guess you could say ultimately ended up being the Modern Rogue. Scam School book written, and I wrote Real Publisher, which was a thing that later on happened.
Well, if that was 2009, that new series might have been Frame Rate.
It might have been, yeah. It's amazing to see. I'm looking at like the amount of revenue I wanted to do in 2009, and it's adorable. All of this is adorable. Right hand man hired. Selling my book test is the last one on there.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, I like physical media for all of that stuff. Is my answer.
We use Slack here for Bizarre Magic to kind of keep in touch with stuff, which is nice because you can kind of compartmentalize messages generally. We don't have a lot of people, which I think tends to allow a certain amount of bleed. Like just a little bit of bleed between channels equates to like a lot of bleed because there's only like 6 of us or something.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start talking about a certain thing in one channel, it tends to stay in that channel, which is like
actually the hygiene's pretty good. Like the moment somebody starts mentioning, a scam stuff related thing, somebody will somebody being Bryce, will say, moving this over to the scam stuff channel.
The other thing, because I deal a lot with the podcast and stuff, I edit the one that you're listening to now and Cord Killers and I actually use Premiere to edit our podcasts, including Weird Things, which is an audio podcast.
That's not the craziest idea because I loosely speak Premiere, but I really speak Sony Vegas, which is a video editor that started off as an audio editor. Sony Vegas was originally just for audio stuff. So that makes sense.
And part of it is because Cord Killers is also a video podcast. B, I use Premiere for editing Scam School and stuff. And C, the app that I use to take live time code notes of everything will create Premiere
So, what are the for those people who don't have the video? Basically,
Sure.
Bryce has an app open. The moment he starts anything, he's got a few different buttons to press. So, like for example, if somebody curses, I assume you just press the time code mark curse thing.
I hit show note. I hit show note twice, and then I tap in the
Did you
curse
accidentally
word.
stop it?
Did I? Poops. It's fine. It's great because I can manually sync it. Also, but you're able to set like buttons that you use frequently. So I'll have show in, show out, show topic in. So when we have a new
So,
topic,
like
or
starting segments, I assume
for like
on-
spoiler in time,
Yeah.
when we talk about new shows, crosstalk when people are talking over each other, Skype mess up, which is if there's a Skype technical glitch,
Oh, wow.
silence for weird things that gets used a lot because we edit this one down actually a lot. Edit out and edit in for longer segments that just feel like I have no idea why this is happening, and we might just cut it out. And a nice black button here that says "look at" in all caps, which is not what it used to say before I started showing this app to people. But that's called cut notes, and it's nice because you can just manually start the time code and just manually sync it that way. But it also works with Collaborate, which is a video editing team-based tool. But I don't use that, so that's cut notes. And then Premiere I used to edit because I do mean to learn Audition, but I just use Premiere so much, and I'm able to make templates, and I can do the time codes. And then I use Overcast to listen to podcasts. I am able to set up a playlist of just these work shows. So if there's an issue or whatever, I can go into that playlist and see, okay,
Man, I
after
gotta
things didn't
change.
post.
I
What's
gotta
that?
change my podcast app again.
What are you using?
you know what? I'm feeling the same thing here. I've been using for the longest time, and it's pure inertia by this, and it seems fine. But I'm using iCatcher, which has gotten better over time. It's easier to find a new podcast, throw them in there, and to download and have available all the other podcasts.
Yeah.
But I suspect that there's probably more
Well,
advanced.
I did the what's it called, the
Apple Podcasts?
Apple Podcast app, and then they switched it to the new version, and it's
Mhm.
there's a lot of unnecessary buttons, but also like I feel like I'm narrowing what I listen to because of the way that it like pops in. It like
Oh.
populates like I guess based on my listening habits.
Mhm.
It'll just feed me more of the stuff that I've like listened to, which means that I can have stuff that kind of drops off for a little bit, and then all of a sudden I'm like, man, I haven't heard an episode of blank in a while, and then I have to dig through their menu to
And
find
you know that
like,
it didn't show it to you.
way down below is the well, you haven't listened. We thought you were done listening to Harmontown, so now it's in. We're not gonna like
Oh.
pop it right there to the top because they have a new episode that moment.
Yeah.
You know.
That's weird. Yeah, I heard that the Apple Podcasts app was not good in this new version, and
It sucks because it looks a lot better,
Mhm.
but it got a very weird. Nobody has cracked, in my opinion, the best way to do it. So in a lot of ways, like I don't really count failure against people in trying new UIs for podcasting, but this one specifically, like a lot of stuff that I listen to comes in like daily in 3 or 4 episodes. It'll be like radio shows that are repurposed,
yeah,
so they don't just have a simple like, hey, put this in my timeline of what I'm listening to, and then make it very easy for me to look at my timeline, and then make it easy once I'm looking at my timeline to put new stuff or to add things on. Instead it's like play next, and then once I've hit one to play next, now there's no more play next button. Now it's play later. So now
Oh, right.
later.
You're making like a queue. Yeah.
Play next does stay around, so there's no play later before. Now it's just play next, but then I can put something in between. If I add it play after I add something play later, if I add something play next, then now the next is before the later, but not before the previous next. Or is it? I don't know. Now you can see why I'm confused.
They did that with the Apple Music app also when they started the Apple Music streaming service of like, changed the whole interface, and you have the 3D touch stuff, and there's play next, and there's a queue, and play later, and it's all kind of Byzantine. I would really recommend. I really like Overcast. It has a free version and a optional or a premium, like one. I think it's a one-time. I don't know if it's a very cheap subscription or if it's a one-time payment, but it disables a little banner ad, and you get you get to upload. You can upload files. So if you are wanting to listen to something that you have somewhere and it's not an RSS feed, you can upload stuff. I've been really digging that for the past a couple of years now, I think. Trying to think what else, like Tweetbot. I'll use Tweetbot to go through our Twitter.
I'm having
accounts.
a challenge with Tweetbot lately. I got the latest version, and it just seems like it's constantly lagging, and I find myself increasingly going to the main Twitter app, which is a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, there are some things that Tweetbot just doesn't do as well as the Twitter app. Like posting GIFs doesn't really work in the Tweetbot app. Moments tagging people is not quite the same as it is in the Twitter app. And that's kind of just a function of, Twitter, what Twitter did X number of years ago of like cutting off certain API access for, because Twitter doesn't want tweetbots to exist. They want people to just use the Twitter app.
Sure.
So that's
I still just use the Twitter app. They made multi accounts a lot easier.
Yeah.
So
it used to be a real pain in the butt before.
And also it's like now they built in enough cool features that I would prefer to just make sure I have them as opposed to, Twitter's fraught relationship with their API and other apps where it's like sometimes they work eventually, but it's like might be a janky kind of look to it. So
I use Discord quite a lot. We have a Discord server for Diamond Club stuff here, and
Discord's great, man. I've used Discord so much more than I've ever thought that I was going to. Like,
what are the differences between Discord and Slack? To me, one looks like okay.
What's the difference between work and the happy hour?
Got it.
Yeah, like Discord is a lot quicker on like. It's quicker to switch servers in Discord and kind of hop around and see what's new, where Slack is very much like, okay, you are in these channels for a reason, so we're going to alert you for all the messages in all of these channels, where Discord's almost like an IRC that you can just kind of keep in the background and check on it whenever you want. It's a lot of fun, and I'm really happy that we've been using it for over a year now, about a year.
Yeah, something like that. I'll tell you, I actually did something that I was very excited for myself because at the age of 34, soon to be 35, I've decided to start trying to use photo editing programs. So Pixelmator, but effectively Photoshop.
Yeah.
After Night Attack last week, where I screwed up and instead of saying Mythic Tales, I said My Thick Tales.
Thick Tales.
I decided that I was going to challenge myself. I wanted to post to our Discord, to our fan-made Discord.
That's what that was.
And I posted. I posted
My Thick Tales. It's a wizard's face on the Nicki Minaj Anaconda. On the Anaconda single cover.
Man, it's the backside of a tiger if I ever seen one.
So you did that in Photoshop or Pixelmator?
Pixelmator.
Pixelmator.
But yeah, no, I mean it's something that like has it kind of it spurs fan made my love for fan made wanted me to go and do more for the fam. So I was.
Now I didn't realize they had a Mac app. Are you using an iPad app or this Pixelmator Pro?
Mac. No, the Mac app.
Oh wow. Interesting. I knew they had the iPad app because it was like the iPad app for photo editing, and I didn't know they made a desktop one. That's cool.
But yeah, no, I would say that's been the latest thing, and then I'm gonna have to also get back into get back into video and audio editing, just in general. I bought all this equipment to just kind of help to sweeten up the sound of all the products. Try to be a better one-man band when it comes to getting everything edited and sounding just a little bit better. Because I know for us, or for my shows like Jury and Politics and stuff like that, there's a lot of silence and everything, and I'd like to be able to find a way to kind of get better, just get a better, more professional sound, since there's really nothing in 2018 that stops me from having something that sounds as good as anything on the radio. You know?
Sure.
It'd probably be easier to do if, it's the talent is the engineer, is the publisher, and I control every element of it, and the prosumer equipment is
Very good. Yeah.
Indistinguishable. Then that's the next step.
I think I don't know the last time I feel like we've done one of these episodes before where it was just like toolbox stuff, just all of our cool stuff. But I don't know if the last time we did one of these, we were using vMix, but we are using vMix to do our switching for all the shows, instead of like an OBS or an XSplit
or Wirecast, right? Yeah.
Wirecast,
So somebody was trying to talk me into going vMix so we could use their
vMix call.
Their call situation, just because we've had such a frustration with Skype.
Skype has been so extraordinary, and I don't know if it's our standards have been rising or Skype has just consistently gotten worse.
Skype has gotten worse.
Skype has consistently gotten worse.
Yeah.
Like since the beginning of time, if it's not overcomplicating it or making, taking away things that we would have otherwise been good with, it's just, now it doesn't work with that, and now I can't feed it my video, and now I can't do this, and now, the one thing it's been good at is it does work. Like, we do get and receive calls, and everybody knows how to use it, and it is a brand name. But I think that for some of the stuff, and specifically even if it's just my computer calling your computer, which is a fair amount of what we do, right?
Sure.
That having one thing that is a little bit more stable and a little bit more responsive, and then maybe bringing other people in on Skype might be the way to go, but who knows?
Yeah, vMix call is partly the reason why we kind of made the switch over between wanting to use more integrated elements like the Twitch chat or the Twitch sub box and the event list and stuff. On top of all that stuff, it was just nicer to have a more robust switching system, since for most of the time I'm able to just dedicate my time to switching live. But yeah, once we we need to redo all the audio stuff on our side, but we can vMix call to like anybody. I think it's browser based, so as long as one person has a license, anybody can connect through like Chrome or something. But I've really been digging vMix, and it's the sort of thing where it's still kind of a newer piece of software, and so it's getting new updates and stuff. There's a thing right here in the middle, these like 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons here, if you can kind of see them on the screen.
Sure.
Those were not there a few months ago, and they are fantastic because they are just quick
presets,
quick memory of overlays. And so I can queue stuff up, and instead of having to find it and turn it off from the shot list, I can do it there. Like it's little things, and they seem like they're a easy to communicate with company about features and stuff. So
nice.
Yeah. And there's like JV Phobic in the chat says you can set triggers and stuff. So you can say, hey, when I bring this shot on, wait a second and then turn this other shot off, or turn this overlay on, or do X, Y, or Z.
Setting up a bunch of rules-based stuff.
Yeah, you could get really not complicated, but you could get sophisticated with it pretty quickly.
Right on.
That's vMix.
Nice.
Any other last tools of the trade, you guys? I don't.
Yeah, maybe this is a clumsy segue, but certainly I think we're all big fans of the Audible app, right?
I haven't used it.
What?
Yeah.
Do you not do audiobooks?
I'm not
or-
like a big audiobook guy.
Wow.
I can't. It's
Wow.
it's tough. I
Wow.
can't. I can't multitask with. There's very little time of the day that I can multitask with stuff.
Oh, man,
like
no,
when I
like-
do editing, I have to be able to listen.
Yeah, of course.
Or
of course.
or otherwise, I'm
I
filling
guess
this up with
working
podcasts.
out of
God,
your
I
apartment.
remember like there was so many times where I would just be like, I was editing when I was doing more of like editing for like the YouTube stuff, or when I was doing the audiobooks, certainly when I was like narrating and editing those, I was just like, man, if I could only just listen to podcasts and audiobooks while I was doing editing.
While you were
like,
doing podcasts and audiobooks.
it'd be so good. I would do so much more of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you dig it. I mean, you listen to audiobooks all the time.
Yes, very much so. And in fact, this is segueing into my pick. I'm going to back up Andrew Main's play from the last few weeks. I'm in the last 10 hours of the Arnold Schwarzenegger autobiography, Total Recall, and it's just great. It's just great, and it's like, on the one hand, I feel small and dumb and weak, and this is a guy who did more than I will ever do. But on the other hand, there are echoes of when he talks about, seeing an even bigger mountain to climb and going for it. Like that really resonate with me. And the proudest moments of my life are moments that I seem to have the most in common with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I really, really enjoyed this book.
Mr. Universe 2021.
Yeah, sure. It's coming.
Justin, you got a pick?
No,
No.
I don't.
That's fine.
But I'll say Arnold Schwarzenegger.
He's an interesting cat.
He's a good guy.
Oh no, totally.
Yeah, I think I'm stuck for a second pick. Also,
All right. Well, then all of us we'll say Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Arnold Schwarzenegger,
or the Modern Rogue.
or the Modern.
Let me just wedge that in there.
Sure. We'll just well, thanks guys for doing this after things. It's helpful to kind of share your tools and stuff and see what everyone uses.
Heck yeah.
It's been
Hell
after.
yeah.
It's been after. There we go. Cool. Hey, good work today, everybody.
Yeah, man. Okay, so before I head out for this talk at the university, I got to take care of the letters for today's Cord Killers. I can go ahead and get those
Oh, okay.
ported over.
Thanks.
And then I guess I have to decide if I'm serious about going to Florida tomorrow. I don't know. It seems like a lot. Because I really think I'll enjoy just watching the live stream.
Here's what I will say. It was a no-go ultimately for me because it would have basically taken 3 days out of my schedule.
Right.
Well, I would have had to, at the very least, go like leave now, or leave this morning, right? And that would have meant cutting off the show and the morning politics stream. Then Tuesday's really my money day, so then it means moving around TMS or giving up the opportunity to do TMS, jury.
Yeah, I guess that's the part that worries me is because tomorrow we have Auntie Donna on Night Attack.
That's
right?
the other thing. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. It would be a huge boner if you missed that.
Sure would.
By the way, we have Auntie Donna on.
I don't know how much anybody remembers Auntie Donna on our show. Or any show really, including their own. They're not exactly linear people, and the more we can be on the same page, the better we can play in that chaotic environment.
Well,
yeah.
That's what Brian's going to be doing. Justin, you have any shows today?
I mean, look. Here's the other side: is you get to be in a sea of amazing humanity watching the future be created, and you get to say forever to anybody, I was there when we took our first step off planet Earth.
I mean,
And you
I
already
think
booked
that
it.
I think that's the thing is that if I'm gonna go, it won't be because I'm gonna enjoy it in and of itself. It'll be as a gift to future me that I'll always be able to say I was there for that thing. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. To be honest, like, I'm annoyed. I'm frustrated by the fact that I am not there, and yet I am oddly comforted by the idea that I need to be more. But what I was saying before we went live is, and to this is a very after thingsy kind of conversation, but like, you know, you can say, well, things are working well or bad, right? But you can never really know for sure unless you put a lot of effort into it. And you can say, okay, I'm satisfied with the level of effort I put in, and now I'll judge the result.
Howling?
What the hell happened?
There's howling in the house happening. I think I saw a dog walk by outside, but the dogs have been barking and howling for like the past 60 seconds, really
Okay.
heavily.
Anywho. All right, guys. I'll see you later.
Okay, bye, Justin. And we're gonna say goodbye to what was it?
I walk in and they're both
He walks in and they're both howling and they stop. So there was nothing. They were just seeing. I swear there was a dog walking by outside. I swear that's only
Like
it.
at some point they got into the howling game, and I walk in and like Sneakers is standing there howling, and Kepler's lounging and howling, and then they both stop and they both look up at me, and that was amazing.
Alrighty, well, with that, we're gonna see you guys in a little bit for Cord Killers. Bye-bye.
Yeah, love you guys.